Jai Masters. Sometimes some very, very sincere people ask a very, very sincere question. Yogananda always answered a sincere question. It was amazing. He told stories. He was walking through a department store, and someone would run up to him, and in the middle of everything, asked some deep question. Somebody went up to him once and said, "What's this samadhi stuff?" Didn't say the word right. That's high stuff. And Master explained it to him right there in the middle of the department store. So a sincere question deserves a sincere answer. So a very sincere question is, I've meditated, I've done this, I've done that, I've tried different traditions, I've tried different techniques, and did all kinds of things, biorhythms and everything. And it's just, I don't know what is the fastest path. What can I do to move forward to where I really realize that I'm growing and really getting closer? The answer isn't what you expect, but it is the same answer that all the great ones really in the bottom told. So you start off with, not how do I get to God, whatever you mean by God. I don't want to discuss that. How do I free myself? How do I get liberated? How about that? How do I get liberated? How do I grow the fastest? That's not the question. That question is framed from a misunderstanding. That question is framed from the fact that you're not there, you're a lowly human being, and how do I reach these great elated states that the great masters, the great yogis, or whatever, reached? My experience is that that's not going to cut it. Because what you're asking is, what can I do to get rid of the I? It will never work. You can grow some, but it will never work because you're doing it. The I is still doing it. The I has to be there to pay attention and be disciplined and do what you're supposed to do and feel guilty and decide, what am I supposed to... Here's the I deciding. What am I supposed to do now? Well, the problem is the I is the problem. The I is the problem. The great masters taught as follows: where I exist, God does not. Where God exists, I do not. Christ said you have to die to be reborn. They're all the same teachings. So the question is not, what can I do? I don't want to use the word God, but you know what I mean, to get to your higher self, to the higher states, the most beautiful part of your being. We'll call that God. What can I do? That's not the question. The question is, why am I not there? Is it true that the natural state of things is I'm not there, and I better row real hard and struggle to get there? Or is the nature of things that I am the highest being that ever walked the face of the earth, but I got lost? That there's a reason that I don't know myself, but the self is there. I always teach people, they say, how do I get to God? I want to go to God. And I tell them you have to stop leaving. You're already there. They won't teach you that. Christ did. He said, as I sit by the throne of my Father, so you sit by my throne. And these things that I do should do even greater things. And all the great ones. Muktananda, meditate on the self. Honor and worship your own being. For God dwells within you as you. Christ said the kingdom is within you. So the truth of the matter is, you're already the highest thing that could possibly be. But you're staring at something that's not. That's the first of the really deep understanding of what it means to grow spiritually. What you're conscious of is your life. If you devote your life to your car, if you devote your life to your business, if you devote your life to your wife or your husband, that's your life. You're calling them all the time, you're going there all the time, you're worried about them all the time, you're thinking about, that's wonderful for humans. You're thinking about them all the time, so your consciousness is focused on that. Fair enough? Your consciousness is focused on what it's focused on. That's not wrong. It's not bad. You're not supposed to renounce. You're supposed to pay attention. If I stare at my hand, really stare at my hand, that's my whole world. You guys aren't here. I'm not conscious of you, therefore you're not there. So the question is not, how do I get there? It's how do I stop leaving there? That's a much deeper question. And that will lead you to the highest growth as fast as can possibly be. Is there a reason I'm not experiencing bliss, ecstasy, God, highness? Is there a reason? Yes. Well, you're staring at something that's not that. You're staring at your mind, are you not? Who doesn't pay attention to their own thoughts? Oh, I don't pay attention to your thoughts. You don't pay attention to my thoughts. But you pay attention to your thoughts, don't you? How much do you pay attention to your thoughts during the day? All the time. Even if you decided not to pay attention to your thoughts, you're fighting with the thoughts that you're trying to not pay attention to. Pay attention, don't have bad ones. So your consciousness, your awareness of being, is fixated on your thoughts. And that's your thoughts. Do you have something else going on in there called emotions? Do you have emotions? Are they out here? Can I see them and touch them? Where are they? Inside. How do you know you have emotions? I don't challenge you. You're lying. You don't have emotions. You've never had an emotion in your life. What would you say to me? You wouldn't even bother answering me. You walk away. You laugh. Because you know that you are conscious of having emotions. Do they come and go? Or you have one emotion for the whole month? How about for the whole minute? Right? The emotions come and go, don't they? How do you know? How do you know you have emotions? These are the deep spiritual questions. How do you know you have emotions? How do you know they come and go? Can they be nice? Can they be ugly? Can they be difficult to live with? Can they hurt really bad? Can they feel really elated? Yes or no? All right. Is it not you who feels both? Can you have a good emotion day and you have a bad emotion day? Like a good hair day and a bad hair day? How do you know? I want to know. How do you know that that's going on? Because you're a conscious being. You're aware. The rock doesn't know if you kick it. Your foot knows it, and it lets you know, right? But you're a conscious being. You're aware of whatever you're conscious of. There's consciousness, and there's object of consciousness. What is that? Consciousness is awareness. What it's aware of is always an object of consciousness. Until you get very, very evolved, very, very evolved, then you're conscious of being conscious. And that's a very high state. In fact, it's enlightenment. If the only thing you're conscious of is that you're conscious, that is called self-realization. You have come to know who's in there. You're conscious of your own being. It's not witness consciousness. Don't get confused. Witness consciousness means you're witnessing something. See the difference? You're witnessing your thoughts. That's wonderful. You're conscious of your thoughts, you're conscious of your emotions, you're conscious of your body. I heard there's meditation techniques where you go to like a 2-week seminar and they tell you be conscious of everything that's going on in your body. Every sensation you're having, everything, and just pay attention to that. And people grow a lot from that. Why? Because normally you're distracted from that. You're distracted by 7 million things. Your consciousness goes all over the place, doesn't it? Like your thoughts, your emotions, every feeling in your body, everything that's going on outside. You get distracted by the object of consciousness. If you weren't distracted by anything, you'd be enlightened. You would realize, I'm not that which I'm looking at. It's not a thought. It's a realization. I'm staring at the picture. I get so lost in it, I'm fixated on it. Now I'm not. Oh, I'm here, it's there. But I can project my consciousness onto it, can't I? Do you not? Do you not get your consciousness pulled down onto different objects and different things? Have trouble letting them go? Have you ever had a thought you had trouble letting go of? Could it stay there for years and keep coming back up?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. It distracts your consciousness. It draws your consciousness down to it. That's why you're not with God. It's not the clothes you wear. It's not the food you eat. It's not whether you swore today. It's because your consciousness, which is with God, the source of your consciousness is the highest thing that could possibly exist. Your consciousness is not centered. It's not aware of being conscious. It's aware of what it's conscious of. Like I said, you're taught witness consciousness, mindfulness, they call it, witness consciousness. That means, can you reach a state where if something's going on in your mind, you're centered. That's what it means to be centered. You're aware that that right now is what's going on in my mind. I'm not aware of it, but I didn't leave my center of consciousness. I'm sitting in this chair staring at that picture. Versus, I'm lost. Oh my God, who painted that? Oh my God, I have to have that. I drew my consciousness into it. Well, I'm sitting in the chair. I'm still looking at it, but I'm centered. That's what the word centered means. Your consciousness did not get pulled away from its seat of consciousness, but it's still aware of what it's conscious of. Okay? A high state, a really high state, is when instead of being there and then conscious of what you're conscious of, and we'll talk about how to do it, that's what we're going to talk about, somehow you have managed to not get distracted. I'm not saying you renounced, not saying you denied. I'm not saying you ran out to the woods like I tried to do. Okay? So that you don't have anything distracting your consciousness. Then what will distract your consciousness? Your mind say, I don't want anything distracting my consciousness. Instead, you're aware that you're there, and it dawns on you that you must have come from somewhere. Not your mind, not your emotions, not your body, not the world. You're there. What's your source? What's the source of consciousness? That's a really high question. Except if you ask it from the mind, you'll never find it. Because you're leaving the center of consciousness and dealing with what the mind thinks about it. That's why they can only go so far with science and all this stuff, because they use their mind. The meditators have let go of the mind, and they transcended that, and they went to very deep places. But I don't know that science can ever go there. Like, what's the source of the quantum field? I want to talk about that tonight. But what's the source of the quantum field? They don't know. They don't know. We don't know. But if you give me the quantum field, I'll build the universe. Very good. What's the source? No one knows. Okay? Well, the yogi knows. The yogi knows the source of consciousness. Why? Because they went there. They stopped being distracted. I taught you, there's a very, very high yoga writing called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Ever heard of it? Very deep, very old, very revered by all the very, very deep masters. And he said, here's a meditation. 1, pratyahara. Pratyahara, what does it mean? Withdraw your attention from your senses. If your consciousness, that's your attention, is distracted by your senses, you're not meditating. You're listening to what somebody else is talking about. You're distracted by the senses. Therefore, you ain't going anywhere, are you? I hope you had a nice sitting. Maybe it felt good, but that's not meditation. So the first requisite for meditation, it's not meditation, but the first requisite for meditation is to withdraw your awareness from your senses. In other words, cease to be distracted by your senses. Make sense? Now you would say to me, that's hard, I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do so. You do it all the time when you go to sleep. Do you have dreams? How do you know? Because you're conscious. You're conscious of your dreams. But you're not feeling your body. You're not hearing what's going on in the room. Some people sleep so deep that they could touch them. You could talk. You didn't know how to do it willfully, but there was a natural state of pratyahara. So don't tell me you don't know how to do it, because you do know how to do it. You have moved into a state where you're not being distracted by your senses. That's Patanjali's number one step of how to meditate. Congratulations. Just go to sleep. You laugh. Masters, even Yogananda taught that when you sit to meditate, you may start to fall asleep. That's okay if you catch yourself. So you go into that in-between state where you kind of lost your sense of the senses, but you're still there. Isn't that neat to know you know pratyahara? It's kind of neat, all right? But if you can withdraw from your senses, guess what you're going to be distracted by? Your thoughts and your emotions. I guarantee you. Just like when you go to sleep. You're distracted by those dreams, aren't you? So the next step is dharana. That's the next step of meditation. He calls it one-pointed concentration. What it really is ceasing to be distracted by your thoughts and emotions. One way of doing that is if you focus all your attention on a candle, you're not paying attention to the thoughts and emotions. You're one-pointed concentration, and you're not distracted by what's going on inside. So the first step is you're not distracted by what's going on outside. The second step, you're not distracted by what's going on inside. Who's not distracted? You. You in there, the consciousness. So while it's being distracted, you're not centered. You're pulled all over the place, either by the world or by your inner world. So notice he calls it one-pointed concentration, but what it is ceasing to be distracted by your thoughts and emotions. So while you're sitting there focusing on whatever you're focusing on, a mantra, a candle, whatever it is, one-pointed concentration, if the thoughts start and you pay attention to them, you're not focused on the candle. It's not one-pointed. So it's the same thing. Saying one-pointed concentration and ceasing to be distracted by your thoughts and emotions are the same thing. So now you've reached a state, you're not distracted by the senses, you're not distracted by your thoughts and emotions. Whoa, that must be meditation. He says, no, that's not meditation. That's pratyahara, dharana, then this thing called dhyan. Dhyan is meditation. That's why I told you this. Why? What is dhyan? Take that one-pointed concentration and concentrate on the consciousness itself. In other words, now you're not aware of anything except awareness. Not the candle, not the mantra, just you're there. That's meditation. That's the beginning of a deep meditation, where you're just aware of being aware. You're not thinking I'm aware of being aware. That's being aware of your thoughts, all right? You're just aware of being aware. What is the source of that awareness? If you spend enough time in those deep states, you don't have to think about it. It will dawn on you. Who am I? Where did I come from? Not a thought. Just your being, all right? What is the source of your consciousness? And the source of your consciousness is what you call God. What they mean by God is the creator of the universe, is the universal awareness of everything at all times. You're that. Why don't I feel that? Right? Christ said, my Father and I are one. So is that true of you? You are in that state right now, but you're being distracted by your thoughts and emotions and your body senses and the outside world, aren't you? That is the fall from the garden. You're being pulled out of who you are, which is, Yogananda went into, the first time he went into the states of samadhi, the high states, he called it a chapter in autobiography, my experiencing cosmic consciousness. What is that? He said he left the body, it went out, his consciousness became the universe. Not he sat there looking at the universe. He was every galaxy. He was expanding at the speed of light in every single direction at the same time. That is who you are. You are it. You are, oh my God, namaste. You hear me? That's what that means. That which is God within me honors the God within you. So you are a very great being. Well, but I get depressed. No, you're not depressed. You're staring at a depressed psyche. Aren't you? Isn't that nice to know? That's a way out. That gives you a secret door out. Yes, I'm looking at depression, and it feels yicky. Of course it does. Depression is dark. Who's looking at it? You who's looking at it is the highest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. It's consciousness. If I take a drop of water out of the ocean, it's the ocean. If I drop it back in, you'll never find it again. Go find that drop. You can't, can you? But it's the same thing with your consciousness. While it is separated, it behaves separated. You're paying attention to this human with its thoughts and emotions and feelings and kind of senses and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that, all right? But when you cease to get distracted by you, that drop of consciousness that's staring at you falls into the ocean. That is enlightenment. That is merger. That the word yoga means union. The union of the Atman, the individual Atman, with Paramatman, with the universal consciousness. All right? I don't like universal consciousness. I come from the 60s. No, that was the whole thing. Universal consciousness. Nobody knew what they were talking about. Okay? Just now, it means much more to me because of physics. Because of the fact that they traced all of creation, every atom and everything, down to this field of energy, the quantum fields. There's no form. It's just energy. Well, that's real close to consciousness. It's like when you go to sleep, who creates the cities and the people and the things in your dream? It's made out of consciousness, isn't it? It's not made out of form. And then you go down and play in it. Well, you understand all of this. It's all one. It's all made of the same essence, the same substance, consciousness. That's what the great masters found when they went back there. The whole thing's made of consciousness, and that consciousness, that my consciousness drop of that consciousness when it falls in. Great masters go so deep, it's hard to bring them back. Don't be afraid. You won't go there. Don't worry about it. Really, Ramakrishna used to sit down and he'd go so deep. He'd merge. They wanted him to eat, had to eat. They tried to bring him back by whispering in his ear the name of God. Fishing. They went fishing. Can I find him? He's back there somewhere. They'd bring him back. We're very great beings. So it's not a question of going somewhere. It's a question of ceasing to be distracted by what's keeping you from knowing yourself. That's nice to know, isn't it? You're a lot closer than you thought you were. You're already there. You're just leaving. So what it comes down to is, what is distracting me from myself, and what can I do about it? That's your path. That's the highest path. Now you don't have to do anything to get there. You just have to let go what's keeping you from being there. It's sort of like if you're sick and you find out that you're eating stuff that's making you sick. Maybe before you go to the doctor, you stop eating that stuff. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Well, it's the same thing with spirituality. If you're not feeling joy, and you don't feel close to God, and you're not feeling elevated in love all the time, and flows of Shakti pouring through your being to keep you intoxicated all the time, you don't need to go find a relationship and go take this test and do this thing and try a different thing. All right, maybe you need to find out why you're not experiencing that, instead of finding something that temporarily will let you experience it. That's very deep in the teaching. Sure, you can find somebody. Relationships are wonderful. They're very good for your growth, but not the way you all have them. Because what you think a relationship is supposed to be is, I'm messed up, I'm not happy, you distract me from myself. If you're not distracted, if you go to a movie and you sit there in that chair and you keep thinking the same thoughts you were thinking when you walked in, that's a very boring movie. And you would say it was terrible. That movie has to distract you from yourself. That's because your self is distracted by you, your personal self. Now it's such a mess you can't live with it. So you need something to distract you from you. So you travel and you do this, and you want to be rich so that you can do whatever you want to do and distract yourself. You buy different things, you do different things. And in relationships, you try different things. I don't want to talk about it. Because I'm telling you, if somebody comes in front of you and they're just, look at the word we use, attractive to you. What does that mean? They distracted you. Their being, their looks, their intelligence, their whatever it is, they're wooing over you. I don't care what it is. It was attractive to you. What does that mean? It drew you to them instead of you. If every time you met the person you felt the same as before you met him, you ain't getting married. Not without a shotgun anyways. You understand that? Okay? And worse yet, if you meet somebody and they what does it mean? He blew me away. I'm not me anymore. It took me away from myself. All right? Now what do I do? Don't leave. I need you. You do. You need you. I need you to distract me from me. Otherwise, well, I don't want to go back there, right? And if someday you come home and they don't distract you from you, you had a bad day at work, you come home and nothing happens, it ain't going to be long for you're thinking this may not be the right relationship. Do you understand that? Okay? You feel love not because of the other person. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with the fact that you close yourself all the time. I don't like this, I'm afraid of that, I'm not good enough, and nobody really loves me. You do that, don't you? Okay? You close yourself. You close your heart. I'm afraid. I don't want to get hurt again. Come on, what goes on in there? You protect yourself. You close yourself. You have boundaries. What are the boundaries? If you get past my boundaries, I'm closing. So you are capable of closing. When you close, you're closed. You're not going to feel love. You're closed. If I have blinds on the window and I close them, it's going to be dark in here. If you close your heart or close your mind, it's dark in there. If you open them, whoa. So if somebody shows up and your heart opens, of course you feel love. If somebody shows up and I say, oh boy, I'll pick the blinds up. Wow, that person must be made of light. No, the person's not made of light. You stop closing yourself. They distracted you enough from yourself to where your heart opened, because you're not busy closing it. Okay? As long as they behave. How? The way you want them to. Well, what if they end up wearing a shirt that reminded you of your little brother who died when he was 5, and it just destroyed you, and he forgot about it, and that shirt looks a lot like it, so it reminds you of it. How you doing? Man, that's so good. Why'd you wear that shirt? So things from outside hit the stuff inside, or they don't hit the stuff inside. And you're more open. You can turn the corner and see a sunset that blows you away, as much as any first relationship could. You can love a dog and have it open your heart when they come and jump around and welcome you home. Right? Your heart can open, can't it? Just understand what a relationship is. That kind of relationship. That is a relationship based on need. I'm not okay, so I need to find things outside that will help me distract myself from myself, such as relationships, such as this, such as that. You know what I'm talking about? All kinds of stuff. All right? And some people just run as fast as they can to run away from themselves. All right? Jet set. And you wake up, and at some point, spirituality, you wake up and say, this isn't working. How do you know? Because you've been doing it every moment of your life for your entire life. Haven't you? Trying to be okay. You want the toy, you want mommy to pay attention to you instead of your sister, you want this, you want that, you want the first boyfriend, you want that, you want to get an A in school, you want blah, 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 blah. Everything. Every single moment of your life, you're trying to be okay. You're struggling to be okay. Instead of doing that, spirituality says, you're not renouncing. You don't stop. You don't stop trying to be okay. You just sit there and say, why am I not okay? And plus which, if I've done something every moment of my life for my entire life and I'm still doing it, it doesn't work. Well, that's stupid. It doesn't work. And so spirituality says, true spirituality, once you understand what's going on, says, wait a minute, I'm being distracted by something that's not okay. Do you know, I don't care how like people say to me, but I practice positive thinking. Why? Because I know it's pretty damn negative in here. All right? Okay, you can do things to compensate, and don't think you're not supposed to do this. You do things to compensate. Fine. I'm glad you're working on it, right? Why are you not okay? Why do you need to do those things? A great being who's worked on themselves understands there's nothing to do. It's beautiful in there. The sun is always shining. But what if something bad happens outside? It's fun. How can it be fun? Because you're not closing. When you play a sport, you play sports, how would you like to play a team that was 3 years old and you're a major NFL football team? Hey, let's have some fun. We can win. No, you wouldn't do it. It's going to be the most boring thing in the world. So you are in a world that challenges you. It challenges you. Can you be okay even though she left? Can you be okay even though the business went under? Can you be okay even though you're getting old? And you're getting varicose veins and gray hair and your face is drooping? Can you be okay? Answer is no. All right? Well, why? Because I don't want it to be like that. Well, I'm sorry, because that's how it is. So that is your sport. Your sport is, can you be okay as you go through this life? It's an exciting life. It's always changing. It's full of surprises. What did John Lennon say? Life's what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Isn't it? And you think that's bad. That's like saying, I'm going to play football against this team, and I thought they were going to pass, and they didn't. They ran. That's terrible. I don't like that. They should have passed. That's what I was ready for. That's what you're saying in life. I have a way I want you to be, and if you're not that way, I don't like that. That's not okay. As opposed to, bring it on. Bring it on. Let's play. Let's dance. All right? Whole different attitude. So the question becomes, not how do I find things that will match what I want so I can be okay, and avoid things that match what I don't want so I can be okay, which is, be honest, that's what you're doing your whole life. You're trying to get what you want and avoid what you... Who will deny that? That you're trying to get what you want and avoid what you don't want. And they tell you to do that. Get rich and famous. Then you can get what you want because you have control over people and everything like that. Do mantras that exactly match and attract to you what you want. Wouldn't that be neat? No, it will not be neat. Why? Because it's the very fact that you're not able to accept the flow of life that makes you not okay. So you have to struggle to try and make life be a certain way, and that's struggle, but you'll never be okay. You've never been okay for a very prolonged period of time. Go ask your parents. Ask your grandparents. How often are they in a state of ecstasy and bliss all the time without doing anything? Go to some rich billionaires. See how happy they are. You get to see front page sometimes. Some pretty unhappy people trying to force life to be certain ways and using their money to buy what they want and using their power. They're not happy. They're struggling. So it's not true. There's nothing wrong with money. You don't renounce it. There's nothing wrong with relationships. Please don't renounce them. Right? Just pay attention. It is meaningless to compensate for what's wrong inside of you. What is meaningful is to find out why it is not okay in there. Because I'm telling you, you're so far beyond okay, it's not even discussable. That's what every great master taught you. You're the highest being who walks the face of the earth right now. But you're looking at something that's not. You're staring at a mind that's not okay. You're staring at emotions that are not okay. You're staring at a body that you want it to be a certain way. It's not okay. You're staring at a world that's not doing what you want it to do. Not being the way you want it to be. So of course you're not okay. So the question is not how to get it the way you want. The question is, why do I want it to be a certain way? That's why I teach you what I teach you. And I don't know if you ever get it. Like there's a picture there opposite the door that people look at me like I'm crazy, which I am. Because I look at it, it looks like a blank 8x10 black picture. But if you look carefully, there's a dot in the middle of that picture. It is a picture of your planet from 2 million miles out. Cassini took it on her way to Saturn. She turned around and took a little snapshot of home. And you look at that, it's black all around, and you sit there and say, I'm having a problem sitting on a planet, spinning in the middle of nowhere for a few years. I wonder why. It's a nice planet. I know you can list all the things that are wrong. Go to Mars. You won't list the things that are wrong because there's nothing. It's just dirt. How long do you think you'll last on Mars? Is it not true that something's always going on in front of you? Color, shape, sounds, weather. It's an exciting place. But it's not the way you want it to be all the time. I didn't want it to rain today. Okay, go on. Ruin it all. Instead of sitting there saying, I'm the luckiest person that ever lived because I was born on the planet Earth. And no matter what's going on, at least something's going on. I have the opportunity to be challenged, to go through different things. If you get sick, you should see what they have in hospitals now. They have all these machines and doctors and things that take care of you. And it's fascinating. MRIs and CT machines and PET scans. And it's really amazing. You should be in awe. And you get a front row seat. You get to go inside of an MRI machine. You get to test the latest techniques of this, that, and the other thing. Right? No, I don't want to be sick. That's why you're not okay. You're not okay because you decided how you want things to be. And in your society, or the whole world, they worship that. They really think you're supposed to decide how you want it to be and go make it be that way. How's it working out? I don't know. People getting ulcers, tension, everyone's on pills, even at 12 years old, on Prozac. What's going on? That's what's going on. Because you're taught that you have to do things to be okay. And so all this tension and anxiety gets built up, even spiritually. You sit there and think, well, I want to help people. Why can't I help people? Why something can't happen? I want to have an influence on the world. That will give you ulcers. But I only helped one people today. I'm counting. How many likes do I have on Facebook? How many people listen to my YouTube? Oh, my God. I'm supposed to be at least 100,000, but somebody else got 1 million. Oh, my God. How will I get to 1 million? You're ruining your life in the name of helping other people. You're ruining you. You won't help anybody because you're not teaching them how to be okay. In the name of them being okay, I wanted to help them. You're ruining yourself. All right? So you wake up and you realize what is going on here. What is going on is that I'm sitting on a planet, I always tell you, because I just want you to get it, 1.3 million Earths are inside the sun. And you're going to worry about every little thing that's going on this little planet? And you're only here for a few years? It's been here for 4.5 billion years. You might make it to 100, and you probably won't even like it. What are you doing? Why are you making a mess of this thing? Why are you doing this? And so basically you wake up and you realize, I have to learn to be okay and enjoy life. Then I can share that with people. I can share my light instead of sharing complaints and sharing all that kind of stuff. So how do you do that? There's real spirituality. How do you do that? Not, I need to try and do this and techniques and so on. It's, you look in there and you see, how did it get to be such a mess in there? You're scared of certain things, aren't you? You're anxious about certain things. You desire some stuff, don't you? Go on, you saw a movie once, you wanted to be like that. Read a book, somebody told you they got it like that. They went to Hawaii. Then you go to Hawaii and the volcanoes are going off. And it's just never the way you think it's going to be. Do you understand that? And it never will be. Oh boy, he said that. I'm going to say it right in your face. It's never the way you think it's going to be, and it never will be. Well, how do you know? I know. How do you know? Watch. Okay? Where did you get the idea of how you want it to be? Because I guarantee you, she don't agree with you. Psychology teaches you, let's get science. Psychology teaches you man is the sum of his learned experiences. That's very, very deep. Shouldn't say man, I should say people. But anyways, people are the sum of their learned experiences. What does that mean? When I was young, my parents had a child, another child, and I was so jealous, and I don't want them to have another one, because it really hurt me badly, all right? And by the way, when I get married, we have one kid, because I don't want to put a kid through what I had to go through. Some of your learned experiences. You were an only child. You had no one to play with. You had nothing. I'll tell you right now, when you get married, I want at least 2 children. You have to at least want 2 children, because I know what it's like to be an only child. Who's right? Some of your learned experiences. Every single thing is that way. You're good friends with Joni. You walk by one day, hey, Joni, how you doing? She doesn't say hello. You know her for years. Hey, Joni. She just keeps walking. You know what your mind does? Well, what did I do? Why is it like that? Maybe she had earbuds in. Maybe George told her what I said about her. Oh, God, I hope not. Should I call George? No, don't do that. And the next day, if you see Joni walk in somewhere, you may indeed go the other way. Have you ever done it? Have you ever avoided somebody because of what happened yesterday or last year, or go to a high school reunion? That's a good one. 20 years ago, the person hurt you and did something. You still got it, don't you? Okay? So what happens is you hold inside of you things that bothered you, don't you? I just showed you do. Well, if you're going to hold inside of you everything that ever bothers you, you're going to be bothered. It's that simple. It doesn't take deep mystical teachings. If you collect bad experiences inside of your heart and inside your being, it's not going to be nice in there. And I want to make sure they don't happen again. And if you have a nice experience, you want it to happen again. That ruins your life. No, I don't like to talk about positives from scars because you don't like it. You can have positive ones for now, but eventually you're going to catch on that if something happened that you like, now you want it to happen again, which means you're not here now. You're not willing to experience the new experience. You want that other one to happen again. And now you're struggling with life again. So you have developed patterns inside yourself. We call them some scars in yoga, impressions, that you did. You stored them. So Joni didn't say hello. There's 8.3 billion people on the planet Earth. They didn't say hello either. Picky, all right? And so you learn to not know why she didn't say hello, and who cares? If you're okay with it, then who cares? She didn't say hello. You see her tomorrow, you don't even ask her, why didn't you say hello? Imagine that. You're new. She gets to be however she is. You say, hi, sweetheart. Wouldn't that be nice? You're doing it. You're storing this stuff in there because you can't handle the experiences of life. And so whatever you can't handle, Freud says you suppress it or repress it or deny it or at least resist it. And when you do, you push it inside yourself. And that's the greatest thing you're going to learn. You have screwed yourself up. Don't you dare blame anybody else. But no, this terrible, terrible thing happened to me when I was young. It was traumatic. It was awful. It was terrible. I'm not being cold. I understand. Terrible, terrible things happen. Do you understand that? Terrible things happen. That's reality. But they happened 20 years ago. Why are they still inside of you? Why did you choose to store the worst experience you ever had and screw up your life? Did you have to? No. You can learn to let things go. I'm going to make you one guarantee, and I don't care who disagrees with me. There is nothing inside of you, super glue or fly paper, anything, that holds things inside of you except your will. You are the one that is pushing it away. And when it tries to come back up, what do you do with it? You push it back down. What happens if somebody reminds you of your ex-husband and starts talking about it and making you uncomfortable? You say, shut up. I told you I don't like to talk about that. You know it disturbs me. In other words, if it gets stimulated, what you stored comes back up. You don't like that. You push it back down. Spirituality is about waking up and realizing that's why you're not okay. You're not okay with what happened to you. Yes, it's difficult to handle certain circumstances. All I'm asking you is when they're over, let them be over. Mommy did this. Well, Mommy's dead. It's not happening anymore. I understand some things are difficult to deal with. They're difficult. They hurt. But then they're over. Let them be over. Don't take the worst thing that ever happened to you and store it inside of you and keep it there for your whole life. What's the wisdom of that? No. And you're doing it. You know you're doing it. You're in there pushing it back down. I don't want to deal with it. I had a bad experience in Massachusetts. I'm never going there again. Don't laugh. Worse yet, I had a good experience in Massachusetts. I want to go back. It's not going to be the same. We're not getting along. We had our honeymoon in Niagara Falls 15 years ago. It was so beautiful. We were so in love. Now we're throwing pots and pans at each other. Let's go back to that place in Niagara Falls. Are you kidding me? Don't even think about it. It's not going to be the same, is it? Nothing is the same because everything changes. You change, they change, the situation changes, everything changes. Isn't it always changing? But you don't want it to change. The things you don't want to happen and things you want to happen. So now you struggle all the time. That's the problem. That's why you're not okay. That's why you're not okay. And letting your not okayness decide what has to happen outside so you'll feel better about it. You go into the lowest part of your being and say, what do I want to happen? You go into the lowest part of your being and say, what do I not want to happen? And you're letting that low part that you stored in there determine your goal in life. That's what your preferences are. A great being does not have preferences. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. But you don't know what it's like to have no preferences. You think it means renouncing. It means denying. It means fighting with yourself so you don't listen to your preferences. That doesn't mean you have no preferences. It means you have them, but you're denying them. I'm talking very deep now. There's a state in which you have no preferences. What does that mean? It means you're happy with everything. It means you're not blocked. It means you don't have garbage inside of you that is the basis for your preferences. Every preference you have has a basis of your past experiences. I don't ever want to go to church ever again. My parents made me go. All right? What are you doing? You're letting the parents that you didn't like and you don't want them running your life run your life. Okay? So you realize that every single preference you have is personal, and it's based on the fact that I stored this stuff in here, and now if something happens it doesn't hit the stuff good, or something happens that hits the stuff good, that's what determines what I want and what I don't want. Does anybody understand that? The preferences are not God-given. They're psychology. They're straight out of psychology. You can trace them down if you look at them. You can see where they came from. And everyone's got different ones, don't they? I was telling you why you want it to be the way you want. It's not going to be that way. Why? Because that's where your preferences come from. That's how you decided how the moment in front is supposed to be. You shouldn't have said that. I can't believe you said that. I would have never said that. I never thought you would say something like that. You know you said that to somebody at least once. Okay? Where did you get the notion of what he was supposed to say? Uncle, father, church, book, movie, who knows? Past experiences left something inside of you so that when he or she said that, it didn't feel good. What if you had different experiences? In your household, they fought. They loved each other so much. They just fought all the time at dinner. It was so much fun. And somebody sat there and said something that reminded you of what your father said, that everybody laughed, right? You just, I love you so much. Can it be like that? Okay. So you did this. So now you're bringing those preferences. There's a very important thing to see. You're bringing your set of preferences into this moment. You have a way you want it to be, don't you? All right. So now I've come into this moment with my preferences, which are the sum of all the experiences that I've had. Give me how I want this moment to be. That moment exists. It's based on physics and chemistry and meteorology and psychology. There's reasons that things are the way they are. The way I like to say it is this. It's very scientific. That moment in front of you is the sum of its learned experiences. It's called cause and effect. Isn't that what determines what the weather's going to be? Isn't that what determines how people are going to treat you? Isn't that determines every single thing? It has a history that made it be that way. So the sum of the learned experiences that made the moment in front of you has nothing, zero, to do with the sum of your learned experiences. Yours come from Massachusetts and New York and California, and 40 years of every single thing you went through. This moment in front of you never went through all that, did it? Therefore, they're never going to match. They shouldn't match. They don't match. They're not supposed to match. Who's wrong? Reality? The sum of the moment's experiences? The weather's wrong? The person had a bad day, so they come home in a bad mood? It's the sum of everything. It's so hard because you're taught totally different things. You're taught things should be the way you want, aren't they? You're taught things should be the way you want. And if they're not the way you want, you did something wrong. Now you're taught you should attract to yourself what you want. In other words, what's in front of you shouldn't be the sum of its learned experiences. It should be what you want. Does that make sense to you? Aren't things the way they are because of physics? Because the way the atoms and the molecules join together, and because of meteorology, because of all the forces of creation, don't they create the moment in front of you? Don't they create every moment? Or is the moment in front of you different than every other moment? Well, how about the moment over there to the right that you don't even look at? What's this supposed to be like? I don't care. They're all going to be the same. They're going to be the result of the forces that made them be that way. And your desires and preferences are the sum of all the things that made them be that way. And those two things have nothing to do with each other. Absolutely nothing. Therefore, to want it to be the way you want and want it to not be the way you don't want is a source of tremendous pressure, aggravation, struggle, and you will never be okay. You will never be okay. That's why the great ones wrote that. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. But you think having no preferences means suppressing your preferences. It does not. It means find out why you are so picky about how everybody says anything and does everything, just everything. You're picky. because those are your experiences, right? And find out what's causing your preferences. There's a cause for your preferences. And I'm telling you, the cause for every preference you have is the stuff you stored inside of you from the past. That's why you have the preference. So to have no preferences doesn't mean to have preferences to suppress them. It's to go deep inside and say, I don't need this stuff stored inside of me. I don't want this stuff stored inside of me. I want to learn to let go of the garbage that I collected over the course of my life, that instead of letting it pass through, let it be the experience of the moment. Okay, fine, you said something not so nice, and it didn't feel good inside of me. Fine, now there's something else happening. The wind is blowing, the leaf is falling, the sun is shining, somebody else is talking. I didn't keep that inside of me. Are you capable of that? Yes. Do you know how to do it? No. No one ever taught you. No one ever taught you it's supposed to pass through. Every moment you experience has its moment in the sun, and then the next moment comes. That's what be here now means. You're present in the present moment. You bring your whole heart and soul and mind into this moment, and you serve it and experience it to the best of your ability with an open heart and an open mind, and then it goes, and you're with the next moment. Believe it or not, that's the highest life you can live. And it's beautiful. That's where all the great ones went. You're just in the present moment, experiencing what's happening, and there's nothing blocking you. All right, somebody asked Ramakrishna once, great master, does an enlightened being ever feel anger? I was shocked. He said, yes. But it's like riding on water. When you ride on water, just bring your finger down across the water. How long does it last? Can you read it? Does it make any impression? If you write, scribble on water? No. Then what's the difference? Anger is a perfectly natural thing. Somebody says something, you feel anger. Somebody says something, you feel hurt. Somebody says something, you feel love. It's just part of life. It just passes through. And next thing you know, guess where you left? Not distracted. Let's tie it all together now. Remember we said distracted is why you're not where you really are. Why you're not in the seat of consciousness. Why you're not centered in the depth of your being. You're distracted. If the thing no longer bothers you, you don't get distracted by it. Leaves fall all the time. Wind blows all the time. Trees are all over the place. Cars are driving by all the time. You see them, but you don't get distracted by them. So that's what happens if you let go of the part of you that gets triggered because you stored stuff in there from before. That's what's happening. Then you won't get bothered by things, and you won't get distracted by them. And your meditations and your spiritual growth will become simple, become totally natural, because you're not being pulled down by the garbage you stored inside yourself. So the whole thing is about cleansing. The whole thing is about letting go and not storing any more stuff in there. And how does one do that? I started by telling you, let's talk about the highest. That's the highest spiritual path, what we're talking about. Because it doesn't mean just when you're meditating. It means every second of your life. Every second of your life you're being challenged. It's okay with you? It's okay with you? Can you handle this? Can you handle that? Can you handle what I said? Can you handle what she said? Can you handle this? Can you handle that? And you just basically come to the point where you start practicing handling things. There's a perfect Western mantra. I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. Instead of I can't handle this. Then what you start doing is practicing handling things. And what I suggest in the new book is you start with simple things, like the weather, or the driver in front of you, or what somebody said, or somebody didn't say. That one I like the most. What do you mean by not saying that? The very fact that you care means your mind's going to make up some stupid thing that's negative. How many people didn't say something to you? Billions all the time, right? But because this person didn't say what you wanted to hear, I wonder what they really meant by not saying that. You just don't go there and try to figure it out, because it's going to be negative. You start working with yourself and saying, I can handle this. And you start making a game. It's more and more, let go, let go. And when you can let go of the small stuff, you start finding you can let go of the big stuff. Bigger anyways. And then eventually you will be able to handle the day as it unfolds, and all of a sudden you can write me, they do, say I was doing so good, but now I'm a mess. That's right, because the stuff you stored down there start coming back up because you didn't shove stuff on top of it. And that's called spiritual growth. You start having to deal with that junk you stored in there from before that caused all that trouble, and then learn how to let go. And I'm telling you, every single one of you are capable of doing this. You start with the little stuff. Like learn to play tennis, or learn to play the piano. You start with the scales. You start practicing letting go, and then learn how to let go, and then let go, and then let go. And eventually you'll be letting go, and you'll realize when I let go, life's a lot nicer. If I don't walk into the moment expecting it to be exactly what I want, I walk into the moment and say, okay, this will be fun. Let's see what happens. A lot more open, right? And eventually you will let go of enough stuff in there to where you start being filled with love. Because you're not closing. I'm telling you, filled, not like baby love, flows, waves of Shakti pouring inside of you, feeding you all the time, filled with love, filled with joy, filled with enthusiasm over what? Taking out the garbage, washing the dishes, talking to somebody that you really don't want to talk to. This would be fun. I wonder how I could do with this. And all of life just becomes a beautiful game, a beautiful challenge. And the higher you get, the more you want to get higher. So I started it by saying there's a very deep spiritual path, which you're generally not taught. You're taught all kinds of other stuff. But the reason you have to do the other things is because you have garbage inside of you. If you have garbage inside your house and it's smelling the thing up, don't bring in some sprays or those little plug-in things, aroma things, right? Get the garbage out. It's a lot more intelligent, right? That's what I'm telling you. That's true spirituality, is you work on yourself by letting go of what's in there. And you just do it every day. And wait till you see what happens. Okay. Jagrative.